Hey, how you guys doing? This is Company Heroes 2, and we're gonna be watching a Uber Commander West player versus a USF. Anyways, not much to really comment on. I really just wanted to fucking show how you really should use your manpower, or at least spend your resources. Don't let your resources float, because holy shit, I would have got stomped if this guy did. I don't really know what the fuck I'm going to be saying, but essentially, the big moral of the story is going to be use your fucking manpower, use your resources that you have, because if you don't, you're essentially going to be losing a lot of your, I don't know, your big punch when you do what this guy is doing. So, right off the bat, as you can see, he's going for his fuel, he's getting two Stern Pioneers and a Kubel. I know, the fucking little car that goes around. Now, I don't know this if you can tell. As you can see, all I know is someone's capturing the fuel, which I, at first, some retarded reason thought it was Volksgrenadier. I don't know what I was thinking. And as soon as I do see it's a Stern Pioneer, I still go in to commit, which is stupid. But regardless, and if you don't know why it's stupid, because Stern Pioneers are pretty fucking strong. Rare Echelon are pretty weak, but you know, that's kind of the dynamic they have. But more importantly, he has two Stern Pioneers, and what he can do with this is essentially apply a lot of pressure where you don't want it, which is right here at the cutoff. The cutoff point is really critical in, well, making sure you have you're capable of transitioning from the early game to the mid game, which you know, has a possibility of not happening. As you can see, we're having some small engagements here. I make a couple mistakes, obviously. I don't really need to point them out other than showing them. Fucking, this is retarded. Why did I do that? I think it was a misclick or some shit. But regardless, what you call it? The thing about this is, though, if you can't tell, he's going for my cutoff, if it wasn't obvious. He has two Stern Pioneers. These two things combined together can really fuck up infantry. As you can tell, I'm just retreating. All I'm trying to do is just whittle them down while massing up a decent, I don't know, a fucking fist to fist my way out of this, which is going to be pretty difficult. He's getting Volksgrenadiers, and usually when someone's doing this, you have a very small window to react, which is like around 3 minutes, I would say. That's when he gets two Volksgrenadiers. But if you know, if you're going against this guy, assuming he doesn't learn from this mistake, which is essentially spend your manpower, it ain't that hard to actually break out of these things. The key thing is to always have at least one or two infantry squads roaming around the map and capturing shit and going for cutoffs. Because what that essentially does, it forces this guy to move some, what do you call, some units around the map to go capture shit. He's essentially relying on his Kubel to capture the map for him, which is, it's a pretty good thing to do, but he's not doing it very efficiently. He's going for points that aren't actually that important. He should be going either for the munitions or for this thing that actually connects him. And what's going on over here is essentially me trying to, I don't know how you put it, but what's basically happening right here is I'm trying to hold off until I can get muster up some people to go over here. This is this one squad that's just going to be roaming around the map while these guys are going to try to either hold them here or push them out. I think I'm trying to push them out. See, as you can see, I'm getting as many people here as possible because this is actually a really important spot to hold. Because if you don't hold it, you basically don't get no fuel and you run behind on the game, and you start to lose what is it called? You start to lose your advantage of being able to either get vehicles out on time or even ahead of time, which does happen even when you're getting cut off like this. If you notice, these guys are definitely gonna go for the fuel. But what's more important right here is this guy's making a huge mistake right here, which is having all of his squads in one area, which is definitely not a good thing. You want to have your squads, especially in the early game, roaming around trying to get as much resources as you can. Even though he does have a Kubel, which is strong at doing that, it's better to have at least one squad helping the Kubel cap, but whatever. He's also focusing on these guys first because they're in light cover, not in heavy cover, which is a really good thing to do. Probably should have, and I'm trying to drive this Kubel off with like jack shit. That's stupid what I'm doing over there, but don't pay attention to it too much, as you can see. About to lose a rear echelon and sending a fucking two-man squad to fight a Kubel. Not the smartest thing in the world, even when they're in heavy cover. Which he could just back away, which I think he just backs away entirely. But with this important thing right here is, keep in mind in this little engagement, is I'm holding basically three squads from doing nothing. I mean, they're obviously fucking killing my units, but they're not protecting their fuel point. And this guy is, I don't know what he's doing with his manpower. If you notice, he did spend it on this thing, which is good. You want to get that. But if he had a Volks Grenadier squad right now, he would have a lot more map control, or at least have a better chance of holding the map, which is really important. He does have his Pioneers pushing me off, but I'm getting 17 fuel to his 16. It doesn't seem that much at first glance, but when you think about it, even if you hold this for like, I don't know, for, what is this, 5, 10 seconds? I forget how long it takes to cap it. That's like, what, 1/5 of the way of a minute, which is where you get your resources, which it basically, I'm just trying to say you'll be getting a lot of resources over time. And I don't know why, oh, he's getting his Kubel, but still, that gives me more time to have, what is it called, to basically get resources. He should have just captured it with his Sturm Pioneers and then moved him, because this spot is pretty important, but it's not the end-all be-all position. Like, he does have the ability to, what is it called, move out of here, and he's floating on 500 manpower while I'm obviously low on it, and that's because I spent it on a captain and I'm reinforcing squads. But the key thing about it is, if he got at least 1 or 2 Volks Grenadier squads right now, it would be very difficult for me to break out of here, because it's hard to explain exactly, but what essentially happens if you have at least 1 or 2 extra squads here, you're preventing me from capturing the whole map, or alternatively, oh, he does call in some Fallschirmjägers, but actually no, this right here is a good decision. I don't know how to explain it. It's not a terrible decision, but it's not a great decision. I would still recommend getting another Volk squad, because 2 Volk squads, they're not the best. I mean, like, it's not the best to have only 2 Volk squads and relying on Sturm Pioneers and Fallschirmjägers, because those 2 units are very expensive to reinforce, and what that essentially does is, while you don't really want to use them as a frontline unit. If you use them as a frontline unit, like I'm using my riflemen and shit, you're basically, oh, I might fucking kill this Kupel. You'll probably, what do you call it? Also, this squad might die. Yeah, I think he's just bad at microing, which is fair enough, like, that shit happens. Kupel might die. But what do you call it? No, it doesn't. I forget. But what I'm trying to say is, like, relying completely on Sturm Pioneers and, oh, he's getting a Panzer too. Not bad. I forgot about that. Yeah, but he still could have got a Volk squad. Getting at least 3 Volk squads, or basically frontline infantry. I don't know what the fuck you'd call them, but they really do show work right here. He only has, what, 5 infantry squads to my 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I got, like, double the amount of infantry he does. And what this allows me to do is capture the map a lot more quickly, while also holding down his forces here. I don't want to say efficiently, but, oh, rip, I lost a squad. That's actually kind of huge when you really think about it. I know commentators, especially in the pro scene, definitely will probably say, "Oh my gosh, he just lost a Volk or a re-echelon. It's a huge game changer," which it is, but it isn't. Because the thing about losing like a rear echelon, that's not a great squad, but it's a little squad that can either be using to hold right here in a house. If you remembered what I did in the early, oh yeah, this is kind of cool. So this is another big thing about having more squads than your opponent, I guess. Oh crap. What do you call it? Is that you can do things like this, which is go for the cutoffs, especially if he's retarded, and lets you basically cut it off. You can cut him off completely. If you notice, he's going pretty much all in on this cutoff point, which, like I said, it's pretty important to go for these cutoffs, but it's not the end-all be-all thing to win the game, because what he's basically doing is putting all his eggs in one basket right here, which, like I said, it's pretty important, but not the end-all be-all. If you notice right here, though, also I'm getting a Stuart to counter this Panzer II. But if you notice right on the mini-map, he's, what's happening is that squad is about to cut him off from all of his resources. Once he gets this cutoff point, he's essentially getting no resources whatsoever. And once that happens, it allows me to play a lot of catch-up with my 23 plus fuel. See, he's getting 7 fuel per minute while I'm getting 23. That's actually huge. And even though I just spent it all on a Stuart, and he's kind of technically ahead. It gives me a lot of time to sort of catch up on resources, and what he could be doing with his resources right now is basically be spending it on Volksgrenadier squads. Because if you look at his composition, he does have Fallschirmjägers and 2 Sturm Pioneers. That shit's good as fuck. Like that's good. That you don't need any more Fallschirmjägers or Sturm Pioneers. That's a really strong thing to have. Also inefficient right here, but the thing you I don't know how to explain it, but I'll just use a fucking white nationalist quote. I forget who said it. Someone said it, something like diversity is like a spice or some shit. But think of diversity as your special units. It's like a spice. You don't want too much because it ruins the meal, and you don't. And not having it just makes it bland. It's a fucking food analogy as well, but whatever. But it does hold true to this because having too much of your special units like Fallschirmjägers being your main force, that essentially ruins the point of having special units. The point of them is basically to, well, at least how I use them personally, is just having them on one point of the map or supporting a big push, which is what I personally use them for, while having mainline infantry basically take all the damage because these guys are cheap to reinforce. Expendable, but definitely you don't want to lose them and like lose a squad of them. Also, he's doing pretty good over here. He's capturing shit. Like, if you notice, these guys have the cloak ability, so they could just like sit here and defend while your mainline infantry are applying pressure elsewhere. But you know, he's doing a pretty good job at like it. But the thing is, we're both at equal fuel, and I basically want to say I caught up a little bit better. But the main reason why I'm actually kind of winning is because he does not have any more Volksgrenadier squads. Volksgrenadier squads are they're really good. They're I think they're the best infantry, mainline infantry in the game. Better than riflemen, better than conscripts, and better than actually not better than grenadiers, but they're pretty on par with grenadiers. Volksgrenadiers, on the other hand, they're cheap and they come with the Sturmgewehr package if I can find one. How do I switch? There we go. See, if you look right here, he could definitely upgrade to STGs, which would definitely make it really difficult for me to push in with my my infantry like as it is. Oh, what's this? Oh, dude, this is so fucking lucky for me. I could have hit that mine and I would have been fucked. And this is actually kind of a big moment here because I'm shooting a rifle nade, but this squad is low as fuck, and they make it out. But this Stuart, you know, he's about to fuck up this thing, but there's a fucking Raketenwerfer there. Shit's happening over here, and oh, I missed it, but this thing just shot him with a fucking Raketenwerfer shot, and it takes 3 to kill a Stuart with a Raketenwerfer alone, or however you want to pronounce it. And oh, check this out, he's pulling out a Panzerfaust, but he gets fucked by a grenade. Praise the fucking grenade. And now his Fallschirmjägers are running, and oh, and it's fucking wiped. That's fucking right. Unfortunately, though, he's about to fuck shit up over here. This Valiant Assault is really strong. As you can see, especially with all the infantry he has, which is basically assault infantry, they're shock troops of sorts. Not good shock troops because they're not cheap, especially when you lose one. If you notice, that is a huge win for me. Just wiped 2 of his very strong infantry in exchange for, I think, nothing, actually, just a lot of map control. Like, he does have map control, don't get me wrong. He's getting 36 fuel to my 7, which is, you know, he's probably actually getting ahead right now in terms of the fuel game, but he, on the manpower game, well, doesn't really matter, because he only has 2 Volksgrenadier squads, and he has 700 manpower. He should definitely be spending his manpower on either... Actually, he should just be spending his manpower on a machine gun. If I were him, a machine gun, and another, maybe 2 Volk squads, because, once again, those Volk squads go a long ways. In fact, right here, I honestly thought he had more infantry and support weapons because, well, he's floating 700 manpower. You would expect him to have. I don't know this, but I would guess he spent all of this manpower on shit. So I'm just trying to get a Stuart out of there in fear of Raketenwerfer just shooting 2 more rockets into him, which is definitely not something you want to have happen to him. And you see, this is what Volksgrenadiers, or mainline infantry, are basically for. Just defending, sitting back, and doing almost nothing, while also, you know, occasionally being used for important I don't know what you'd call it. I forget what it's called. I don't know. Important assaults, I guess. Um, these things are these guys are just your everything. Like they're your bread and butter of this game. I don't know why he doesn't have any more. He's just investing in Fallschirm Makers. You know, like I said though, they're not bad. They're really good infantry units, but they're expensive to upkeep, and they're basically they're really expensive too. I personally wouldn't ever try getting a whole game of nothing but Fallschirmjägers in a 1v1 because you need your mainline infantry there. Otherwise, you run the risk of what I'm doing right now, going for cutoffs. Like you see, this squad is defending, but he doesn't have a whole bunch of them to prevent me from going down the middle to basically cut him off, which is essentially what I'm doing, while also getting resources in the process. You don't want this to happen, which is why you want to spend your resources on Volksgrenadier squads. Like that's the I'm gonna hammer that home until the game's over, by the way, because it's really huge with what I'm doing right here. Also, yeah, he Panzerfausted my Stuart, but I'm the Americans. I can just get out and repair. Not a big deal. And also, he's getting his cutoff point back, but I'm also getting his fuel. So the advantage he did have is being basically wasted because he lost. He's losing fuel by the minute, I guess. He's getting 7 fuel to my 16. There was a point where he was getting more fuel than me for a fair amount of time, but the thing is, like, these jabs right here, I don't know what you'd call them, but they're good shit. Like, what do you call it? If you can get these jabs in every now and then, like if you notice at the victory points too, I'm at 5, or he's at 500 and I'm at 170. Yeah, I'm losing on victory points, which I'm not gonna lie, victory points are pretty important. But what I understand personally is that I could probably, what do you call it, out-tech him with Shermans and shit. Like, if I can get to a point where I can spam Shermans, you're fucked. Which is not good. But he does have a Raketenwerfer, which is definitely a good AT gun. It's one of my favorites. But they're not but what do you call it? I don't know how to explain it. If he doesn't have infantry like Volksgrenadiers to basically defend it, yeah, it's gonna get fucked. A little foreshadowing. Also, he was placing mines down, which I personally like placing mines down, especially with players who actually know how to manage their munitions to place mines down while also using their munitions for upgrades for their squads and abilities. I really like players like that because that just shows how much they know about the game. Which, me personally, I ain't gonna lie, I'm not the best at it. Oh, this is actually kind of huge right here. So, I don't know why the fuck he didn't retreat. Don't get me wrong, this is pretty quick to happen. But, let's follow him. Yeah. Yeah, he should have retreated. He probably did not notice that. Which is fair enough. Like, I mean, I'll just say, you know, that's obviously not great micromanagement. That happens from time. I fuck up too when it comes to micromanagement. But the reason why I can personally get away with it more than he can is because I only have one elite infantry squad, if you will, which is my paratroopers, and I also this fucking nigged Ooga Booga'd his AT gun, took it away. But the reason why I could get away with losing, I don't know if anybody's noticed, but I've actually lost a lot of squads. In fact, I have more riflemen than I actually probably need. I probably I probably didn't need to get this many riflemen. Probably could have, never mind. I think getting this rifleman was a good decision. Because if we go back to my perspective, how do I get back? If we go back to my perspective, I don't have Lieutenant unlocked, so I can't quite get machine guns, which is not a great thing, and I don't really want to get more paratroopers, because 80 munitions, oh, see, look, I lost a fucking squad. It's a Vet 2 squad, that's kind of a big deal, but the reason why I could personally get away with it, like I said, is because he's not even investing in his own Volksgrenadiers. Because if you don't invest in your own Volksgrenadiers, you're going to have situations where what I'm doing is where I can just outnumber you. What do you call it? Hold all your squads in one position and basically go in for your cutoffs and wait for tanks to come in to mop up your elite infantry. It's actually not that hard. Which is why I'm kind of surprised. Like, I'll be honest, I thought I fucking pulled a miracle or some gay shit out of my ass, but no, this was just, well, this really wasn't my doing. This was more or less him just not being able to, not being able to get infantry on his squads. And also, he should have definitely got a machine gun if he's going for this elite thing. Which he's getting a second Raketenwerfer, which is definitely good. A good thing to do. Mainly because, what is it called? I forget what it's called, but having two Raketenwerfers can really fuck up a lot of tanks. I think it only takes 4 shots from Raketenwerfers to kill a Sherman, and it only takes two or three to kill light vehicles like the Stuart. Which, by the way, I forget about this guy. Which rip in peace, but whatever. It's whatever. Also, it should be obvious who's gonna win. This is obviously gonna be me. I feel like a gay nigger for saying that, but no, it should be obvious. I mean, well, and I'm not saying it because because I'm fucking great, but it's simply because this guy pretty much refuses to get any more Volksgrenadiers. That like having at least one more squad on his side of Volksgrenadiers would definitely help him a lot. And I'll be, to be fair, he probably doesn't know that much about micromanagement, so it's questionable if how much it would help him. But it's definitely a lot better than two Raketenwerfers against a Stuart that's gonna be basically forgotten for a while until I get a Sherman or my second Sherman. Or, whatever. Also, if you look at the what is it called? The population, it's a bit deceiving if that makes any sense. Mainly because he has 49 population while I have 63. You could argue that's what do you call it? That's somewhat comparable. That's what 11 or 12 points of difference, maybe 13 right now. But the point being is he has two. What do you call it? Let's get to the commando. Yeah, he has two Raketenwerfers, which are 14 population. Which is basically, he only has like maybe 20 or 30 population of infantry squads, while I basically have 59 minus 4, another 14. It's about 30, I would say, about 30, maybe 40 population of actual core infantry, which are riflemen, against his fucking Volksgrenadier squads. And because I have this like massive population bonus against him, I'm able to freely roam around the map. If you can like notice, I'm just capturing all the gay shit. I probably should have put this up here and then use this squad to capture this, but whatever. I'm not great at micromanagement either. I'm, not to toot my own horn, but I ain't the best. Or no, I don't know what the fuck I'm saying. I'm a gay nigga. But no, ultimately, what do you call it? Like, see all these squads? This is strong right here. This shit can fuck you up. But I don't know what he's doing right here. He's basically engaging these guys at their optimal range while they're in heavy cover. Also, look how much damage these fucking Raketenwerfers can do. And I was caught down with my pants down, and they just reload, and you're fucked. See, two Raketenwerfers is all you're gonna be needing. Like, this shit is strong as fuck. I don't know why he got a third one. I really don't. He needs a machine gun at the very least. A machine gun, maybe some extra Volk. I'm about to sneeze. Fuck. So bad. That felt great. Alright, but regardless, it's either a machine gun. Well, actually, no, a machine gun should be mandatory, I think. 'Cause it definitely will help him, what do you call it, protect against my hordes of United States forces, or the USF. I don't know why he doesn't have it. But yeah, a machine gun will really help him out. Maybe invest in an Obersoldaten squad if I can get to the guy. But no, really, like, these Obersoldaten squads are pretty good. They got a cost reduction, which is nice. Oh yeah, these guys got shot at by, what do you call it? I forget what it's called, the Schwer. But no, the, what do you call it? Yeah, I think maybe, well, actually, no, he doesn't need an Obersoldaten squad. They would be nice, but I think, Volksgrenadiers are definitely stronger. We're not stronger, but they're more... It's the unit he needs right now. Plus, he's just losing Raketenwerfers because he's... I don't know. He's got a lot on his plate. He's got the middle to worry about. He's got positioning his other Raketenwerfer in a good spot to worry about. A lot of things for him to worry about. This Major is just there to provide more vision while also holding shit down. Holding important spots down. I take another one of his Raketenwerfers, which I thought was going to be a huge deal, but kind of really isn't, because he still has two Raketenwerfers on him. But he also has 700 manpower. He really needs to spend it. I probably should have kept a talk about my, what do you call it? My spending of my manpower, which if you notice, see, like, I'm like almost at 200. Um, Sometimes I'm even at like near zero, below 100, which is, that's what's gonna happen. Especially in the early game when he was actually, ooh, he lost a Volk squad. That's pretty much game. I didn't know he lost a Volk squad. Shit, that's kind of tough to deal with actually, because like I said, Volk squads are expendable, but when you don't have at least four or three squad, or at least three squads of Volk, that's kind of a big deal. Because he only has one squad of Volk, which are, definitely could be outfitted with some STGs to give him some more stomping power of some sort. But what is it called? Basically, he's kind of fucking getting fucked because he doesn't have guys on the field. He only has three squads now. While I have what, one, two, four, five, six, six squads that can that I outnumber him basically. And his squads aren't no pushover either. I will admit that. They're definitely strong, but they can't cover a whole map for him to get his tanks out. Which tanks are pretty important, especially if you only have one Rakettenwerfer. Which I guess I don't know where I took his other guy out, but he's dead. And he's got some Fallschirmjägers. Yeah, they're great. Like I said, they're great, but you can't rely on them too much. Also, I accidentally bought bazookas instead of bars because Lelek really needs to move this in a better fucking position. I hate the USF base sometimes. Sometimes it's really AIDS. Sometimes it's RI. And what's going on here? Oh yeah, just he's throwing a grenade. He's gonna go in the house. Oh, they're gone. I'll go in there. I'll go in there. But little does he know, I got a grenade of my own. Just throw it in there. He lose a squad guy. Good shit. And I have three squads. Gonna fuck up that one squad of Fallschirmjägers and just retreat those guys because I can lose. I can afford to lose ground while he really can't. If you notice at the victory points, he was at 500 and I'm still at 170. That's pretty strong. Also, I'm getting tanks in the mix. Vet 3 Stuart, which is fucking balls to the wall, nice. I personally don't think the Stuart's all that great, but he does his thing. And he's getting a Panzer IV out, which definitely, well, he needs something out. He needs a tank out. Otherwise, he's going to have a hard time crawling out of this, having little to no hardness in his regiment, or I forget what it's called. I was trying to make a Hearts of Iron reference, but I fucked it up. Um, yeah, it's a bit difficult to say if he can. Like, I still think he can break out. He still has two Rakettenwerfers. He has four squads. Of course, two of them are Fallschirmjägers. Um, but it's... Oh, shit. What's going on here? Oof. Oh, that was so fucking lucky. That is so fucking lucky. But then again, there's like a whole bunch of green cover in the way, so it's to be expected. And he calls it quits because I don't know why he calls it quits. He just did. I still think he could have definitely made a comeback in this situation. I will say that because he just barely got his tank out. He does have pretty much three elite squads of infantry. If he just invested a bit more, I forgot to mention, he also took my mortar, which is kind of huge, especially when it's vet 2. It only has one kill, but it's not the point of the mortar. The point of the mortar is just to keep people out of green cover. That's actually kind of difficult to, compensate with. I mean, of course, you can stay in green cover and either hope you don't get one-shotted or whatever, but the point of the mortar is to make people move out of cover. It's not really to get kills, even though it can, and when it can, when it can get kills, when people just stay in green cover, that shit will wipe you out. But either way, I think he could have made a comeback. He has a machine gun, he has three elite squads, plus his elite Volksgrenadier squad, basically, which he can outfit with STGs. He got his Panzer IV. He still has, like, maybe 2 minutes to get at least one victory point to buy him more time. And, like, if he just concentrated all his forces in one big fist right here and just kind of went down the middle, he definitely could have had a better chance. Even though, like, getting these bazookas was a mistake on my part, it would give him a bit of a harder time. But anyways, yeah, essentially the moral of the story is don't fucking float manpower and don't float munitions because, well, you could be using that to, I don't know, make sure I don't do what I just did, break out of your encirclement. and gay niggas fuck shit up.